Over the years, Bollywood movies have acquired notoriety for sharing brazen proclivity for preaching even when they could have embarked on the journey without taking shelter under it. So when I watched Sooryavanshi last weekend, it immediately struck me that I had switched to the 90s, barring a few exceptions. The core storyline appeared to be a replica of some of the wondrous of the 90s cinema. There is preaching in the name of religion, there is preaching in the name of nationalism, and there is warped preaching with the terrorists about right and wrong. Preachy come, preachy go. Peachy, that would be an enjoyable starting point for a song. The so called Bollywood theme is so intricately woven into the plot that at some point it was difficult to imagine any different approach or logical sense that would have made this a better scrumptious curry for single screen theatres, although not so much for the multiplexes. Or maybe it was Akshaykumar's charm and his very persona that fit the recipe perfectly alright. The last few years have seen countless movies orbiting the terrorism subject or its accoutrements. Though some like Baby and Madras Cafe have provided hope, the version that Bollywood tries to imitate blindly one after another while dreaming of packaging and repackaging the singular style of storytelling and sadly mistaking it for distinguished narrative would unfortunately never reach the threshold. Not in a long time. A long list of people playing the villains is scattered across the plot. These people, who are internationally acclaimed in the crime circuit for administering hell across several countries/continents, are also regularly featuring on the passionately assembled catalogue of the world's most wanted criminals, are somehow forced to engage in a tussle with a local police officer whose credentials are deceptively marketed beyond his parochial valor. And what does he get for ending their global tyranny? A promotion from inspector to senior inspector? And then there is a female lead, because everyone would be bored out of their mind watching a man thrash the goons to pulp throughout the movie. The Bollywood female lead for this kind of setup is only born to spice up the milieu. Imagine the plight of the leading lady of that Bollywood, who constantly desires to be part of the narration, but is only called to fill up the minuscule gaps in the narrative, most of the time through music videos. And immediately in the second half, when the purpose is met, she is conveniently scooped out and thrown away into the pits of anonymity. Some would say it's a typical career graph of any actress. It's as if she was never even part of that world to begin with. The confidence of having worked in a Bollywood film for her would easily bow out to the sorrow and regret of working in a Bollywood film. Sooryavanshi takes a vicious ride, possessing most of these elements and gives no two minds about it. It works for the film because it constantly upholds the saying, if you got it, flaunt it. The movie starts on a promise and pops a point without devoting too much time to insult our intelligence. We know exactly how the movie is going to end even before the core plot point surfaces. Ever heard of the bomb blast of the 93 RDX sleeper cells, terrorists armed to the rim with nefarious plans to destroy the country in another Bollywood movie? I would not even hang around the topic to give you an idea about the plot. If you've already watched a movie with a similar theme, you're up to speed. By the way, my condolences for that. And as it turns out, I would need some for myself. Akshay has already done this in the past with better results. He has kicked asses, he has uttered dialogues that leave you heaving in a sigh, his one-liners, his comic effervescence, all pack a punch, and we've seen it all. But he's returned to do this again for reasons all financial, and of course the story of Singham and Simba needed to find the desired ending. Wonder what the fate of the masses would have been if the movie had not been made. And this comes with a jarring revelation at the conclusion that another one is on the cards. Well, the later the better. The entertainment quotient of the movie is absolutely on point despite its needless gimmicks to attract attention. Akshay is the sole reason that the film is watchable. His idea of dangling the flying helicopter never gets too old, which cannot be said about his age. Pulling a stunt hanging by the tip of the flying machine is a feat one cannot imagine at 54. I mean, I'm a lot younger than him, and to find myself suspended by anything levitating aside, I'm most likely to plummet to a mortal fall, even on a stationary helicopter. The music is another sad component that rears its ugly head to part enchant and part disappoint. Enchanting because it is Katrinakaif. Disappointing because creativity dove to a new low with a sheer hope to reappear donning a new identity only to be immediately cast into the depths of hell, seizing its return. Nevertheless, if you're a fan of Akshay, you would thoroughly enjoy his antics on screen. It never gets too old. The movie, despite picking up a serious topic, does not intend to take itself too seriously, and that is probably the only way one can learn to watch it. Be mindful that we are circling the den of fun. I would rate the movie 2 on 5. Thank you.